Okay, this is my third GLP video for the second interaction. Last night my partner, she and I got dinner and we talked about different forms of academic motivation that we both feel and experience. In terms of intrinsic motivation, we had a lot of really similar answers, in part because we're both elementary education majors. She said that she really likes children and that just like working with kids is kind of inherently rewarding in its own sense, which I totally understood and identified with. And she's also intrinsically motivated by just the urge to be a good teacher and be good at whatever she does, which again I could also identify with. And a third intrinsic motivator that she identified was just studying hard, especially in all her classes right now, because she is taking a lot of education-related classes and recognizes that those skills that we're learning right now are going to be really helpful in the future, which that was an example of identified regulation, which is a form of intrinsic motivation where you recognize the pertinence that a task has to your life and maybe to your future, so it in turn you're more motivated to perform it well. And so in terms of those intrinsic motivators, I definitely agreed and thought I had a lot of the same ones. And I think that a cultural inference I can make is that both of our cultures kind of emphasize autonomy, because especially in my experience in American culture, you're really encouraged to just do what you want to do or like what you're passionate about. And yeah, some people choose like more like a monetarily beneficial careers over like maybe their true passion, but again, that's in their choice. And I think that choice is a really important facet of academics and career choice in our society. And from my conversation with my partner, it seemed like that was also highly evident in Chinese culture as well, that people had the option to choose what career they wanted to go into and just make that happen for themselves, which makes sense because autonomy is one of the three factors of intrinsic motivation that is identified in self-determination theory. In terms of extrinsic motivation, this is where our answers kind of differed a bit. My partner said that the main one for succeeding in college was that her parents paid a lot of money for her to come study abroad, and she worries a lot about disappointing them or letting them down, and just really feels the urge to get good scores in order to avoid that. And something that I found interesting was that she said specifically she's not trying to work hard to get praise from her parents, but she's working hard to avoid being judged badly by them and by others, which was kind of sad to talk about, but it makes sense. And I think there's more of a difference between our cultures that I can infer, because I think there's definitely in American culture kind of a vague pressure to be successful in our society, and of course many people want to please their parents, but I think that especially in our academic, like just the schools here, we're a lot more focused on praise and kind of positive reinforcement rather than negative reinforcement, where you are doing something to avoid getting that, like the behavior is strengthened to avoid getting the negative feedback. And I thought that was interesting because we learned in class that positive feedback is a better way to enhance intrinsic motivation than negative feedback. But I guess as an extrinsic motivator, it's definitely working for my partner, and especially the pressure of her parents paying for her to come to America to study, which obviously I don't relate to because I stayed in America and in-state, but even so, I think that that was kind of a difference in our cultures. And another cultural inference I made at the end of our conversation was that I think competence is more so emphasized in her culture. Obviously, you have to be competent in whatever you do, but it seemed like you just really had to be an expert in whatever you chose to go into. And because there's so many tests in there, like lower level education, like before college, you just really have to prove yourself that you're trying to go to college and you're trying to do this. So while autonomy is very emphasized there, it seems that competence, you have to be an expert in that as well. Whereas here, I feel like there's a little more wiggle room, so to speak, and there's more options for people with different kinds of strengths. like beyond academic. So that was it.